Hello. I think we have the people in the waiting room in at the moment. I'm going to just give it one more second. See if a few people are still waiting to hear. This one. Okay, so my name is Angela. I am here with Moving Beyond the Page. My title with them, I am the West Coast Curriculum Specialist. What that means is if you call our customer service line, you will probably reach me. And then also I spend my time when COVID is not happening, traveling up and down the West Coast, giving presentations such as this to groups of parents, teachers about our curriculum. So I am going to start my official presentation. I'm going to get rid of the talking heads just because I feel like that's a little bit distracting. Katrina has offered she's going to keep an eye on the chat. So if you have questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to type into that chat. Feel free to interject, ask those questions as they come up within the slides. I'm perfectly fine with that, and we'll kind of go from there. And how do I? That looks good. Okay, so here we begin. Again, my name is Angela, and I am the West Coast Curriculum Specialist for Moving Beyond the Page. I personally first came to this curriculum for my two daughters over 6 years ago. I firmly believe that education was not simply the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. I wanted my girls to have a love of learning, and I understand that learning is a critical part of everyday life. Education for far too long has been throwing facts at children and hoping they will stick. Lecturing at children, whether in a classroom or online, has been ineffective. Too often, children regurgitate information onto a test and then immediately forget those facts. Even in homeschooling or personalized learning, we often find ourselves doing school in the home, using the same dry textbook tests and worksheets. I felt like we needed to do better than that. Oh, try to change my, there we go. Okay. True learning is the act of taking in and making meaning of new information. This means that children must acquire knowledge and then figure out how to apply it in different situations and real world applications. Learners must move beyond memorization towards understanding, application, and competence. This is active or constructivist learning. You aren't just reading a textbook or a lecture, but applying what is being learned, experimenting with ideas, and forming new ways of thinking. What does that mean in a practical sense? This means that on any given day, my girls will be reading a story about Helen Keller, making a 3D model of an ear, learning about sound waves and pitch and how they apply to voices and instruments, or making their own instrument. This means that my girls can read the book Morning Girl and learn about voice from a story that alternates the storyteller between a girl and her brother. My children can develop an emotional attachment to the Taino Indian characters before the conquerors show up in the last scene. Then they can write two poems using the voice of the Indians and Columbus about that first meeting. Let's talk more about how Moving Beyond the Page goes about doing this. There are four main strategies that we use in our curriculum. Hands-on activities are used to engage learners who need a kinesthetic approach because engaging children on a physical level improves retention. Creative thinking activities help motivate students to bring their own ideas and products to the table. Critical thinking skills taught throughout the curriculum help students learn how to think independently. Engaging projects allow students to demonstrate their knowledge and understanding in a fun way. Projects work well on so many different levels. Finishing a worksheet is not a motivational goal. Developing a game you can play later with your family could be. The internet is used throughout the curriculum while teaching children how to evaluate sources. The internet is used as a tool and not the entire source of your knowledge. The purpose of a project-based curriculum is to demonstrate mastery of a topic while reinforcing the learning through real-world application. The most common alternative to demonstrate mastery is a test or a grade. In study after study, grades have been shown to be detrimental to learning. Three things happen with grades. Children lose interest in learning, they avoid tasks that are challenging, and they are less likely to think critically. There was a study done where students were given identical assignments. Some were told that they would be graded and others were not. The children that were told that they were being graded had less interest in the topic. They were less likely to work on it on their own time. They tended to choose easier and more familiar topics, and they did not introduce as many new ideas. Grades communicate to children that success matters more than learning. Children cannot get away from tests their whole lives, and we do include unit tests beginning in our age 8 to 10 level. It is important that they know how to prepare for and take a test. The projects, however, are the primary method for evaluating a student's mastery of a topic. Projects also prepare children for the real world that they will encounter after they finish their education. Most of us have jobs that are project-based instead of grade-based. Project-based and hands-on learning can be challenging to implement, so we provide materials needed within our kits. This is a list of all of the materials supplied for one 3-week science unit. One of the ways we engage children in learning is by integrating the subjects. Students can learn the intellectual content in social studies or science, and then it becomes real through story. Dry and boring content becomes emotionally resonant. In these units, a student will learn about World Wars I and II while reading Number the Stars, a story about a young girl in Denmark during World War II. Moving Beyond the Page fully integrates science, social studies, and language arts from kindergarten through middle school. When you study weather, you look at how geography affects weather. You look at different regions of the country and how the weather is different. Then you read a novel that shows the effect of weather on a family. In the science unit, you will also learn related skills like reading a thermometer, building an anemometer, and other tools to measure weather. In our units on Africa and Asia, students can learn about the geography and culture while reading stories about a young character in that region. Moving Beyond the Page is the only comprehensive curriculum that accounts for the different strengths and learning styles of each student. Students will function best when learning in a way that appeals to their strengths. They'll be more engaged, more confident, and more successful if you take this into account. In fact, you can use the same curriculum with 2 students, and they will have options for completing activities that allow each individual to utilize their strengths and preferences. There are very few programs on the market that take learning preferences into account. Literary analysis can be challenging for a left-brained concrete learner. Here is a way to take story analysis and do it in a concrete and sequential way. This is actually something we do for all of our literature units. We take one of the story elements, plot, character, setting, conflict, point of view, etc., and we have students track these elements as they go through a story. We use the strength from a story to highlight how these are done well. This teaches students to become a great writer by knowing what great writing is. We include a diorama for kinesthetic learners. This experiment allows kids to identify mystery elements by finding their characteristics. What could be worse for a creative learner than a list of dates? We use a color-coded timeline card with great visuals that children paste on the timeline. Now they can see what was happening in the Americas and Africa while the Chinese were inventing the abacus. This is a rubric for a poetry tea time. This is a great project for auditory learners and those with interpersonal strengths. And occasionally, the projects allow one to choose your intelligence. Before you choose a level for your student, you will want to use our online placement assessments. They are found on our website under choosing an age level. It is important to match the curriculum to the individual student. We want learning to feel natural and fun. If the level is too advanced, it can become a struggle for the parent and the student, and we want students to feel successful. The first assessment has a reading section, a reading comprehension section, and a short written assignment. There are rubrics for evaluating the work and guidelines for placement included. This is a sample from the age 8 to 10 level. All assessments are similar, but leveled appropriately. Please note that reading and writing ability are required for all three of these subjects: language arts, science, and social studies. With a literature-based curriculum, it is essential that the students have the reading and writing ability to complete the work. When students have mixed results, we will place on writing ability first. It is common to have an advanced reader, but an advanced writer is rare. If the writing is too difficult for the student, they will be unable to complete the work comfortably. Math placement is based on a questionnaire. If you answer no to any of the questions at a given level, that is the student's placement. You will find throughout our curriculum on all levels that there is a general structure to how your day will look. The structure is the same for all levels. There is approximately 30 minutes of reading. There are some comprehension and critical thinking questions based on your reading. And then there are 3 to 5 activities per lesson. Then those activities can be different every day. This is how we can appeal to different types of learners and reinforce the learning. You can have something more traditional like a grammar worksheet, or you'll find that you're making a map, cooking a recipe, writing a poem, photographing patterns in nature. Every day has the same general structure with different activities for your child to complete. The curriculum changes across the level. You will find that the workload and the level of student independence will increase incrementally. So you can see at the age 4 to 5 level, which is aligned to kindergarten standards, it's parent-led, 1 lesson a day, and approximately 1.5 hours of work. For the 5 to 7 and 6 to 8, which is first and second grade, still parent-led, but there will be 2 lessons a day, and that is about 2.5 hours of work. The 7 to 9 and 8 to 10, that's our 3rd and 4th grade curricula. Those have a combined parent and student-led curriculum because those are the age we start transitioning students to working more independently. There are 3 lessons a day, and that comes out to about 3.5 hours a day. 9 through 11 and 10 through 12, which are 5th and 6th grade curricula, it is student-led. The book is directly addressed to the student. They have 3 lessons to complete a day, which is about 3.5 hours of work a day. The 11 to 13 and 12 to 14 are also student-led. There would be 4 lessons a day, including math. We do not have math at this level ourselves, so that is assuming you're doing math from someone else. And that works out to about 4.5 hours of work a day. Our curriculum uses age ranges for a few reasons. Number 1, children don't develop in a straight line, and abilities can be even more variable at the youngest ages. 2, gifted students will fall at the bottom of the age range, while your average student will fall in the middle or top. 3, you can use one curriculum with 2 students at the same time. We'll discuss some ways to do this later on. To walk you through each level, so again, the overall structure of moving beyond the page changes through the different age levels. The age 4 to 5 level is aligned with kindergarten standards. Some will use this for pre-K. The time guideline again is 30 minutes of reading a day and 1 hour for the 1 lesson. This level is approximately 1.5 hours of schooling a day. Early elementary, this is your ages 5 to 7 and 6 to 8, first and second grades. Language arts, science, and social studies lessons are combined seamlessly at these levels into 1 lesson. The time guideline is about 30 minutes of reading again and 1 hour per lesson, coming out to 2.5 hours of schooling per day. Middle to late elementary, these are our ages 7 through 9 through our ages 10 through 12. So that's grades 3rd through 6th grade. The time estimate is 30 minutes of reading and 1 hour per lesson. Every day there is a language arts lesson. Then you switch back and forth between science and social studies every 3 weeks. This way you are still able to get monthly samples in each subject, and it comes out to about 3.5 hours a day. For those looking for end of unit tests, we provide them in science and social studies from the age 8 to 10 level and above. We provide them in all subjects from the age 10 to 12 level on. During this age range, we also transition students to working more independently. In the age 7 to 9 and 8 to 10, the lessons are directed towards the parent and student together, and the curriculum is student directed from the age 9 to 11 on. Our middle school level are ages 11 to 13 and ages 12 to 14, which are 7th and 8th grade. The time estimate is 3.5 hours a day plus 1 hour for math, found separately. In these last 2 years of middle school, we survey all of the major subjects covered in high school. So in the 11 to 13, for science, we cover earth science and physics. And the 12 to 14 for science, we cover chemistry and biology. For social studies, the age 11 to 13 covers world history, and the age 12 to 14 covers American history. This is an example of 1 year's worth of curriculum. It can be overwhelming to get 2 large boxes of curriculum and manipulatives, so we have created a Getting Started section on our website. This page contains a wealth of information on where to begin. We provide videos to walk you through the details of each level. I still view the video on my children's age level before starting a new year. This is a year at a glance. It is also found on the back of each curriculum book. There is no exact calendar to follow, and scheduling is flexible. You simply complete 1 lesson per day, every day that you are schooling. If you have a vacation, field trip, doctor appointment, or life simply gets in the way, you know that the next day you sit down to school, you complete 1 lesson in each curriculum book. You just stay on the 9-week schedule. Each concept is a quarter. We've also found that you can complete this curriculum on a 4-day-a-week schedule, and it will only extend your school year by 2 weeks. Most homeschoolers don't take the same amount of vacations as public schools, and this time is usually indiscernible. Final projects will provide great work samples, and the curriculum has a major writing assignment every 3 weeks. In the Getting Started, we also now have schedule worksheets by parent demand. We provide a 9-month schedule or a full year schedule in there. There are 3 options at this time. Our traditional 5-day-a-week schedule. You will find if you complete 1 lesson a day, there are a few days wiggle room. So you just complete 1 unit every 3 weeks. There is a 4-day-a-week, 1 lesson a day, what we consider a relaxed schedule. This is what I referred to. It will extend your school year by a couple weeks, but generally when you homeschool, that time is indiscernible. There is also a 4-day-a-week schedule that will complete exactly in 36 weeks. In the Getting Started section, there are also materials lists for each unit. Kit means that it is provided in the kits that we provide. We do recommend going through this list, making sure that materials are available before you start each unit. Then each day is a simple task to get started. Many parents put everything in a box so that it will be handy once every 3 weeks. Each unit has a unit review sheet, and these are also available in the Getting Started section as well. Now let's look at what the units and lessons look like and how to plan your day. Each unit is 3 weeks long. This unit is for Little House, has 11 daily lessons and a final project. If you're doing the math, that means 13 days worth of lessons. So you have 2 days of buffer in a 3-week schedule. This is an age 8 to 10 level book, but you will find that all of our lessons have a similar structure. Big ideas are questions related to the concept and ideas in each unit. These are not questions you necessarily need to ask your student each morning, but they are conceptual understandings that your student will gain through the lesson. The lesson will help your student to explore and answer these big questions so that their understanding of the concept is reinforced. Facts and definitions outline the knowledge and vocabulary that your student will learn or memorize in the curriculum. It is not necessary to memorize every definition word for word, but your student should be exposed to the vocabulary in the lesson and in other situations. This is also found in the front of the book for the entire unit. Moving beyond the page is based on state and national standards. The standards covered in each lesson are listed in the skills section. These are listed based on the subject being covered. Since this is a literature unit, the standards in this lesson are all targeted towards language arts standards. After the skills section, the required materials are listed. This list shows the student activity pages are needed as well as general materials. The student activity pages are within your printed curriculum book. They can also be printed from the online access to the curriculum. In the age 8 to 10 level, there is a journal that your student will keep throughout the year for spelling and language arts. The journal is simply a wide-ruled notebook that your student will be instructed to write in throughout the year. The introduction is where the actual instruction begins. All you need to do is go through the curriculum and complete each of these activities with your student. For the reading and questions, we lay out the reading schedule for each day. You don't have to read the entire book all at once. For this lesson, your child will read the first chapter called Little House in the Big Woods. Children can write the answers in a separate journal, or they can use the pages that we provide. Some of the questions will be reading comprehension questions, but others are designed to help your student think critically about the text, determine a character's motive, or think about alternative solutions. Our goal is for children to become strong readers and critical thinkers. These should be completed independently. On a practical note, the time your child spends completing the reading and questions independently is a great time to work with any younger siblings that you are also homeschooling. Activities are the primary component of the Moving Beyond the Page lessons. Most lessons include 2 to 3 activities for your child to engage in. Some activities will include activity pages from the student activity book, while others involve hands-on learning experiences, such as creating posters, conducting science experiments, using math manipulatives, or acting something out. No 2 days look alike. Some activities have options. These are called differentiated activities, and they let you tailor your child's experience to either their academic ability or personal interest. Option 2 is usually more difficult and/or involved. When an activity has 2 options, simply review the activity and decide which one your child should do. Depending on the activity, you may discuss this with your child first and see which one they would prefer to complete. These options allow you to level the program for 2 different children. The only part of our program that is outside of the lesson plan is the spelling. As a parent, spelling used to drive me crazy. I felt like it took up too much of my time, and in the end, it wasn't effective. By the time you get to March, any word spelled correctly in September is long forgotten. So we tried to fix spelling. For the spelling program, you will set aside 30 minutes a week. During that time, the student will take an online spelling quiz, and the parent will receive an email with the words and spelling rules that their child needs to review. There is also a suggested review schedule. That way, we don't waste your time on words that your child already knows how to spell. We will review and reinforce the words that your child misses all year long using an adaptive online quiz. The goal is that at the end of the year, your child will know how to spell every word on our spelling list, and not just a handful of words from the most recent test. And spending less time on spelling means you can spend more time on other aspects of writing, like word choice, interesting ideas, sentence fluency, and voice. Spelling is important, but it is just one of many aspects of effective writing. The spelling program is completed through our Learning Gates quiz tool. Moving Beyond the Page has always covered science, social studies, and language arts, and now we have math. like no other math program you have seen, but it is exactly what you might expect from Moving Beyond the Page. Just like the rest of Moving Beyond the Page, we have a strong focus on understanding, not just computing math. It is one thing to be able to line up numbers and complete a computation. It is quite another to be able to work with numbers in your head and come up with different ways to solve problems. To accomplish this, we use hands-on manipulatives, literature, and projects. Our math curriculum includes great literature books to help students grasp the concepts in a fun and imaginative way. In addition to hands-on activities, we have projects that enable children to take their learning and see how it applies in the real world. We want kids to understand how to use and model with numbers in the real world. If you've used Moving Beyond the Page in the past, you'll be familiar with our use of projects, but we haven't seen anything like this in math curriculum. The issue with most math review is that it ends up being a lot of busy work. In order to make sure that every student understands everything they should, you have to review far too much for more advanced kids. Our math review is effective because it reinforces the concepts that children struggle with most. Each daily quiz will take just a few minutes at the end of each lesson. They will include new questions based on what was learned that day, as well as review questions that have been missed in the past. Parents and teachers will receive summary emails that let you know how your child performed and which areas they need to work on. To sum up, Moving Beyond the Page is a comprehensive literature-based curriculum that integrates language arts, science, social studies, and math for children in kindergarten through middle school. The curriculum helps children to grow in their love of learning by encouraging critical and creative thinking, providing challenging and engaging projects, and supporting different learning styles. Moving Beyond the Page takes a hands-on approach to learning that encourages children to move beyond textbooks and worksheets and apply learning to their world. If you have any questions, this would be the best place to reach us with those questions. You will find that there are two of us who help with customer service and curriculum specialists for Moving Beyond the Page. We are both named Angela, and we have both used 6 levels of this curriculum with our own children at home. So if you need any help or support, that is probably the best place to reach us. I worked at a super speedy pace. I hope that was not too fast for you guys to cover. Does anybody have any questions that you would like to ask?
I don't have any questions, but I did like seeing the examples that you embedded in your PowerPoint. That was helpful.
That's awesome. Yeah, we also now, the other Angela, the other half of my job, she has started creating videos that we have a YouTube channel now as well. We had some free parent information sessions over the course of the summer for people as well that are all recorded and on that YouTube channel. So that is also another place where you can go at this point to kind of get more information. If parents need more support, some of them are on homeschooling just more in general, and others are on our curriculum specifically. She also is now running a Facebook page for us and has live feeds, I believe, once a week for questions. If parents have, questions, or teachers and need some extra support, those are kind of newly available from us as well.
Well, I have a question about spelling because that is new since I've used this curriculum. So can you tell me how I get access to spelling? Do I have to buy the full curriculum, or if I just buy a unit, do I have access to that?
Yeah, there's a few answers to that. First of all, there is a free 30-day trial on our website. So obviously you would want to start there. You do get a year's access to Learning Gates with any full year curriculum purchase. So that would kind of come already. in the ages that we have spelling. So we don't start spelling until third grade. So third through sixth grade, any full year package, you would get that access automatically. You would also get it with any level of math because that's used through Learning Gates as well. If you just want to buy Learning Gates as its own thing, you can get a year-long access for your entire family for $25. Yeah,
And is it the same for math also?
yeah, Learning Gates access is just one access, and when you have that access, you can use anything that's within there. So any of the levels of spelling, any of the levels of math, you have access to all of that through Learning Gates.
Perfect. It looked really amazing because it took your child where they were and then helped them grow. And I think that's the challenge when you have a child who's gifted is usually their spelling is crazy off the charts and you don't quite know where to start. So I loved that. So thank you for adding spelling.
Yeah, we it's very backwards from a traditional spelling program like I had in school. And so sometimes people, need a little walking through of how that works because you actually do give a quiz first. Everybody wants to know where the spelling list is, and the first thing you do in the system is you take a quiz, and it creates what is called the practice list. And so the practice list gets emailed to the parent, whoever the account is under that email, but it is also right there underneath the quiz. There's a link, a hyperlink to the practice list. And within that, if they miss any spelling rules, it'll detail the spelling rule that they missed and why they missed it. And then there's a suggested practice scheme that usually is, day one, review the rules that you missed. Day two, write the words you missed 5 times. Day three, write a sentence with those. But again, if you missed the word, it will just simply come back on later quizzes because the quiz is adaptive to each student. And until a student gets the word right 80% of the time, it won't fall off that list. And so they'll have to keep doing those words until they get them right. But it does save a lot of time because, yeah, again, if there's a list of 10 words and your child already knows 7, then they don't need to practice those 7 words. They just need to practice the 3. And yeah.
It sounds like it gives great feedback for sponsor teachers too. So thank you as a sponsor teacher and as a mom.
Yeah, and you can link your students to a teacher account so that you can keep track of what they're up to as well, those quizzes. Anything else?
I had a question that I was hoping to get clarified. So one thing that I'd heard some parents say while they're looking at moving beyond the page, and it's been, I think, they've been a little nervous of jumping with both feet in, looking at it and saying, oh, but this is like, I have to commit to everything. And is it possible to purchase just subject units for the year, or do you have to do the full integrated subject kit in order to use moving beyond the page?
It depends on the age level. So like our kindergarten curriculum, all 4 subjects are just in one lesson. And so you can't tease that out. The same thing in first and second grade, the language, arts, science, and social studies are seamlessly into one lesson. So it is not until third grade that you can tease out a subject. It's mostly, it's because of time as well. If you're only teaching for an hour and a half, then, it would be crazy to do 10 minutes of this, 10 minutes of there. The other thing is that, these subjects don't really happen in isolation in real life. And so that's one of the reasons why we have them integrated, especially at the youngest ages. If you're reading, a story about the founding fathers and answering questions on it, those are language arts and social studies skills, right? There's a lesson in the age 6 to 8, which is that second grade curriculum that's about the abacus. And you read about the abacus, you answer some questions, you learn how to do math on it. You learn about China and the culture that it developed in, which is social studies, and you learn a little bit about how people use that in science as well. So that one lesson actually has a piece that's all 5 of those things, but it's still just a lesson that takes 30 minutes to complete. And so yeah, people, I think that it does hit people when they're trying to take a piece when they have those young kids, and we don't have that option until the third grade, but you can certainly tease that out from there on. One of the things that people do sometimes too, just to try it out, at the youngest, at the first and second grade, you can buy just the first 9 weeks. And so you could always, do that and see what it feels like. And grades above that, you can actually just buy the first 3 weeks. So like when I personally came to the curriculum, my kids were in 3rd grade, and I bought the first 3 weeks, and then I liked it and I actually bought the whole year. But I mean, you can certainly do that to kind of test out the waters.
Yeah, that's helpful. I didn't know about how you could buy increments for the year, like the 3 weeks. And um, that's helpful. And it just makes sense the way that you explained how the integrated works when you're really combining things into a shorter time frame for younger students. And I love that because that brings so much context to the learning and makes it very authentic. But
Mhm.
it is nice to hear that kind of talked through so that I feel better equipped to explain how to families how they might try something out in order to test their experience with moving beyond the page. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always a little baffled when people are like, "Hey, I have a kindergartner and I just want social studies for kindergarten." And it's kind of it's a weird way to slice when you're at those youngest ages, and you're just building those foundational skills.
Well, I've used it just for, you could do tornado and weather as a unit study, and it works really well to do something like that and say, you know what, just for the next few weeks, we're just going to do moving beyond the page. We're just going to learn about weather and we're going to read tornado, and it's going to be a great, however many long weeks.
Mhm.
But I was hoping you would talk a little bit about what to do if you have kids of multiple ages and how to choose a curriculum and how to do it. Because one of the things I've struggled with is it requires so much time. And I have 6 children. And so it's impossible to do a different level for each one. So I kind of stumbled upon it myself, but I was just hoping you would talk to everybody else about what to do if you have lots of different kids or different ages and how to make this work.
Yeah. There are a few ways that people work it, depending on sizes of family. Most of the time, we don't all have 6 children. Are you going on 7 even?
I am, but it'll be a while before he homeschools. So we're
That's
not going to
awesome.
count him.
So there are a few ways that people do this. Most of the time when people have very large families, what they will do is they will level language arts and math individually to kids, and then they will combine them for the science and social studies topics. So that's one of the ways that the very large families tend to do it. The other thing that we often tell people, so if kids are within, a 1 or 2 level range, um, you can combine them together. So for instance, I mean, one of the reasons I loved this was my kids right now are 12 and 14, and they're doing the 12 to 14 curriculum. And that works out, great for us and makes my life easier. And my kids enjoy working together as well. So that's always been nice for us as an option. If the ability levels are close enough, you can combine them on a level. We generally recommend people kind of call us and talk through it, because the most important piece to us is not to make it too difficult. So you don't really want to be dragging along the youngest. That's a lot harder. We have those differentiated activities that are more difficult and more involved. So it is very easy to add difficulty to our levels, but hard to take it away. And so you can always have that older student doing those option twos and doing the more involved work. Also, those projects that are at the end of each unit, there are often choices on how to complete them. And so kids can not only do, what interests them, as in, I'd rather write a poem or make a diorama, but it also can be leveled to their ability levels. So it does allow for that. When it gets really hard is a lot of times the youngest ages, there's a bigger gap in abilities. And so it's sometimes harder to combine those younger ages. You usually want those kids to kind of, when you do a placement, to be like a level apart. But once you get a little bit older, they can actually be 2 levels apart and can be combined on the center level. But we encourage, generally when people contact us about this, we tell people to do the placement assessments. Let's find out the perfect level, for your student, and then call us, and we're happy to kind of talk people through how, what would be the best way to kind of do that. Sometimes, but less often, the kids are just different enough that it would be detrimental to both of them to try to combine them, and maybe even harder for the parent. But a lot of times you can do things like, combining that science social studies and then just having them do those other 2 subjects leveled. It depends on, the family situations can be completely different and how that would shake out. But yeah, there are a mixture of choices between, combining science social studies and having leveling for those other two, to combining two kids on the same level and then just using those options within the curriculum to add difficulty for the more advanced student. Is that clear as mud?
No, it's super helpful. And what I ended up doing with my own kids is, as you showed us, the upper levels are a lot more independent. And so they can do that by themselves. And so I end up combining my younger levels, the ones that need more parent intense work. And so that's what I end up doing. Because if it's talking about how much time I've got in a day, I have to think about that before I think about, yeah. So no, that was
Yeah.
super helpful. But
Yeah.
I don't want to be the only one who talks. So you guys ask questions too.
Yeah, and we that a curriculum being addressed directly to the student, like being student led, I mean, that's at 5th grade for us. So that's a fairly young age to start being able to kind of turn kids off, on their own. People who are new to homeschooling and are coming in at that level, that's a really hard transition. But people who have had homeschooled kids, they're generally pretty used to a certain level of independence, and they're usually ready for that. And again, if you're using the 2 levels before it, where we're transitioning students, right, that 7 to 9 and 8 to 10 levels, when they're ideally run, you would have the child still doing the reading to you, but then you would review with them what they needed to do for the day and then hand that book over to them to start doing their work. So, I mean, even at 3rd grade, we're transitioning kids to independence. And at 5th grade, they should really be able to work fairly independently, just with coming to you for questions and reviewing the work at the end of the day. Anything else? Crickets.
Well, I think this has been very, very helpful, even just to see some examples of it and to see how much time it takes and what exactly is included. All of this has been very, very helpful. So thank you for coming and sharing with us, Angela. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I don't know if you guys have some samples there for people to look at, and I don't know how COVID looks for you guys, what your rules look like. But yeah, we're certainly able to send, sort of some of those your way as well for parents to kind of thumb through when they're considering it.
We do have examples in our curriculum resource section of our library. So any parents who want to come in and just take a look, head to that section. There will always be some moving beyond the page there to look at.
Cool. Yeah, and feel free, the phone number as well as the email at the end of my slideshow. That's the way to reach the 2 Angelas. And if you have any questions, we are the ones to reach. I'm the version from Oregon, and the other Angela's in Texas, just so you know. And if you go to those YouTube videos, that's where you'll see her smiling face. She's the one on those videos.
Well, thanks again for sharing all these resources with us. I feel like we're much better equipped to understand moving beyond the page after talking and listening. So thank you.
Yeah, anytime. You know how to reach me.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that. Okay, the rest of you enjoy your afternoon. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me and you know how to find Angela. So have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, you take care.